there's a lot of money in this. Umesikia ukiimba wana? Hebu imba tusikie. Ati nini? Oh. So what does that mean? Hello guys and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video I'm going to tell you the 10 things that I wish I knew before I started poultry farming. You can see our chicken over here are growing very well. You can see they are really growing, and currently what we are doing, are giving them some water. In this video I'm going to tell you guys the 10 things that I wish I knew before I started poultry farming. What is the first thing that I wish I knew before I started poultry farming? The first thing is that I usually feared that the chicken, they usually have these taste buds. So I was really afraid of giving this chicken aloe vera and these medicinal herbs that are very bitter. So I never gave my chicken the organic medication because I usually felt that this chicken will feel bitter in their mouth. After just a realization, after I had done my enough research, I found out that, you can see that rooster over there. It has started mounting and it is only 3 months of age. You can see this rooster over here, around 3 months of age, and it has already started mounting. That seems very unusual. Let me remove it because it can kill these smaller chickens. So I want to remove. You can see, just look at it. It's doing something very weird because these are very small chick and the chick is stuck and this rooster wants to mount on it. So let me remove it. So I have been able to save that chicken. That rooster had done some very big harm to the chicken and the chicken's head was stuck in the wire, in the chicken net. So I was able to rescue it. And that is another way of how you should be able to be working in your chicken coop, because you can find out that the chicken is stuck and you can be able to help it not be suffocated. So I was wasting a lot of time thinking that if you give your chicken the medicinal herbs, you'll find out that your chicken will end up dying. But according to my realization, I found out that if you give your chicken the medicinal herbs, it will be able to prevent a lot of diseases on a poultry farm, and you'll be able to save a lot of money in the buying of the medication from the agrovets. And that is what I realized later. That is the first thing that I wish I knew before starting poultry farming. Okay, you can see our chicken over here are enjoying the water. Let's head to our second. The second thing that I wish I knew before starting poultry farming is I wish I knew that chicken do not feel cold at night. You know, when I started poultry farming, I never knew that chicken do not usually feel cold at night. You can see our chicken. They never feel cold at night. So I usually enclosed my house fully, like from over there up to this end here. I usually closed it in the night all through, and even if the chicken are big in size as this chicken, I usually just close them all through. And I realized if you do that, the chicken will end up getting a lot of respiratory diseases. And if your chicken get a lot of respiratory diseases, this can lead to mortalities on a poultry farm, and also this can lead to you wasting a lot of money in the purchase of the medication for the chick. So I really never knew that if you just put your chicken with proper ventilation like this, after your chicken, like after the brooding stage, this means that your chicken don't have to feel any kind of cold because they have the feathers. And this is a big advice to also other farmers. So if you are rearing chicken, don't fear because the chicken, they don't feel cold at night. They have these feathers. So like currently on our poultry farm usually sleeps just like this. We are covering on the upper end there because when the rain comes from the top side, there's a lot of wind that usually splashes the rain into the chicken coop. So what we have to construct is something known as an eave. Like I will take you outside, then I will show you. Like outside this poultry house, I want to show you. Let me take you outside so that you can understand what I'm talking about. So what we will have to do on this poultry farm, we will have to construct an eave. An eave is like over here. You can see over here, like here, where this iron sheet is ending at the bottom here. We have to construct an elongation from here up to here, so that when the rain comes, it hits the elongation and it doesn't hit this place over here, and it gets into the chicken coop. And that is what we'll have to construct, so that it can be able to prevent the rain from coming to the chicken coop. But the chicken coop should always remain open, so that you can be able to prevent a lot of diseases in your chicken coop. Another thing I wish I knew before starting poultry farming is the construction of a poultry house. First of all, I never knew that you can construct a poultry house using very cheap materials. I ended up constructing a poultry house using very expensive material, and that is not a good investment if you are doing a business. As you can see, this poultry house over here, we have just constructed it using simple round poles and timber. If you want to construct a poultry house, make sure you are using very cheap material in the construction of your poultry house. Because the first poultry house that I constructed, it took me a lot of money because I really invested in materials that are not needed. The only thing that you need is you to construct a concrete floor, because if you are constructing a concrete floor, you will be able to prevent rodents from burrowing into your chicken coop and getting in your chicken coop. If you are able to prevent such case, because you know the rodents, when they get into the chicken coop, they will end up attracting the snakes. You know, Mr. Snake. Every human being usually fears snake. Even if you look at all mythologies and all natures of the start of mankind, everything that the bad person did is related to snakes. So if you have not constructed a floor that is concrete, these will attract rodents into your poultry house, and these will also attract the snakes into your poultry house, and the snakes can also eat and poison your chicken. So make sure you have constructed a concrete floor like this one over here. So below here, over here, we have a concrete floor. Make sure when you are putting the wood shavings, the wood shavings are almost 6 inch deep, so that you can be able to stay for a longer time in the chicken coop. And also, if you are constructing your chicken coop and putting these wood shavings into your chicken coop, make sure that you have put wood shavings that are properly sieved. As you can see, these wood shavings of ours over here, even if you take them like this and you throw them like this, you will not see any kind of dust that is coming out of it. You can see my hands are clean, because what I have done is that we sieved these wood shavings, and that will also be able to prevent a lot of respiratory diseases from attacking your poultry farm. And that is what we want to do, because we are in business. Okay, we are in business. So I want to tell you another thing that I wish I knew before starting poultry farming. I think another thing that I wish I knew before starting poultry farming is having enough knowledge in the poultry industry. First of all, I just never knew that poultry is so wide and vast like this. So I just started it as how my grandmother would do it, without having proper knowledge, and that led to a lot of mortalities on a poultry farm. So if you really want to know how you'll be able to cope up with diseases and how will you be able to take care of the poultry on your farm, make sure you get proper consultation. For example, I usually do proper consultation to farmers who are able to end up constructing the proper houses for their chicken, and also they will end up having the best rearing on their poultry farm. If you are able just to follow all these things, you'll be able to get a lot of money out of this venture. Because most people, they usually think that they are saving. When you tell them that your consultation fee is like $25 or $30, they usually think that that is a lot of money. But for example, if you have raised chicken like this up to this stage, and they end up being attacked by a certain kind of disease, do you know the cost of one chicken like this is like $5? So if one chicken like this is $5 and you have lost like even 20 of chicken like this, how much money is that? That is $100. And yet you can get that knowledge of around $30 US, and you will be able to save a lot of money. Just that is an example. Most people usually even end up losing a flock of over $1,000 US. Imagine. So what if you are able to get the proper knowledge in the poultry sector? you will be able to save a lot of money in that sector. Another thing that I wish I knew before starting poultry farming is the market, because most people usually just enter into the poultry farming and they start to keep the chicken and they don't know where they will sell their product. For example, you know what I started with my poultry farm is I started with broilers, the white chicken. I started with the broilers, and yet my setup is the rural setup. You can see the rural setup. Rural setup. And yet I had kept broilers. Little did I know that broilers are always only taken in big cities. I kept the broilers, and after the broilers reached the 42 days so that I can be able to be slaughtered, the broilers, I never got a market for my broilers. So the broilers kept on eating into my profits day in, day out, without caring about my pocket. So I ended up selling those broilers. Finally, I ended up finding a market, but it was like around 60 days. So it was like around 18 days later. That is when I found a market for the chicken. And the chicken was sold at a very cheap price. So I ended up getting a very big loss. So that is why you should always study the market before venturing into the poultry farming. So that's why I studied the market further, and I found out that the need for this hybrid type of chicken is what is needed in the rural setup, and that is what we are doing currently. That is another thing that you really need to know before starting poultry farming. Another thing that I really needed to know is poultry diseases on a poultry farm. You know, some poultry diseases, they have these early stages during the incubation period. They have these very early stages whereby you can be able to know the type of disease by knowing the symptoms of the chicken. After you have known the symptoms of the chicken, you'll be able to determine the disease on your poultry farm. And after you have determined the disease on your poultry farm, you can be able to treat it in their earliest stage before they cause any damages on your poultry farm, because they can lead to mortalities on your poultry farm. So if you don't know the signs and symptoms of certain disease, you can end up misdiagnosing your disease. So I wish I knew the signs and symptoms of various poultry diseases earlier on, and this can only be gotten by through consultation and further research. My only best thing is that I have around 7 years experience, so I have had a lot of mortalities, and I learned it the hard way through experience. So it's not a must for you to learn it the hard way through experience. Things are getting easier and easier. Like currently now, we have found out that AI can do some programming and coding. So instead of you going the hard way and trying to learn the hard things, the AI is here to simplify the things for you. So for me, let me say I am the AI in the poultry sector, so that I can offer you the proper consultation in the poultry farming, so that you can be able to get something out of this venture. And my rates are very affordable. So don't feel afraid to consult me. Another thing that I wish I knew before starting poultry farming, let me take you there so that you can understand. Okay? Another thing that I wish I knew before starting poultry farming, there's a lot of money in this. And what is this? You can see we have covered it very well. You can see. This is poultry manure. I never knew that one sack like this is $3. A 50 kg sack is $3. So we are covering it like this so that we can be able to prevent leaching. Leaching is whereby the rain comes and drains out the nutrients from this organic manure. And if you're able just to use this organic manure on your poultry farm, or on your farm, on your garden, on your chicken garden, you'll be able to fetch high amounts of money out of this. Because you know, when you're using this, you'll be able to fetch a lot of money, because most people like the organic foods, because they usually think, and it is a notion out here, that these other inorganic fertilizer, they can cause a lot of diseases to a human being. But if you're using the organic way, you'll be able to fetch a lot of money. So guys, if you haven't watched the common poultry diseases in your poultry farm, make sure you click up here.